And another interesting thing that came out of the pandemic from a real estate standpoint was the real estate industry has been appreciating like absolutely crazy. So
Yeah, that's something I wanted to definitely ask you. Like, what's going on? I know I'm curious. Like, my industry got shot, the filmmaking industry. Hollywood's like on fire, but yeah, real estate. Everyone wants to know like what happened. Like, why do you think it's on fire? Like, what's going on? On fire in a good way, I should mention.
yeah. Yeah, at least on your end for the film industry, people have gotten creative. Like I've seen so many AAA actors on Netflix, for example,
Hmm.
or doing podcasts now, and all the like. It's just interesting to see how people have evolved from the big screens to, I guess you can call them the smaller screens, but
No,
this,
for sure. Yeah.
you know what I mean. But anyways, at least for the real estate industry side, it's been different based on the market you're in. For me, being in Hamilton, it was mostly positive. So there was a mass exodus of people moving out of Toronto. Nobody wants to live in condos anymore. They're
Oh,
too.
yeah. Is that like a trend you're finding?
Oh no, it's well known that people have been moving out of condos. The condo market in Toronto dropped. I don't know what percentage, but a
Wow.
significant double digits for sure, like 10+%.
Wow.
Yeah,
Is
the
that
the
on
rents.
for our age though? Like, because I know people choose condos because that's the only thing they can afford. Like, you know what I mean? Like with, or at least they try to.
I mean, yeah, detached homes were already pricing young millennials out of the market, but
Hmm.
unfortunately, because the pandemic left people stuck at home, the mass, the great majority of people living in condos in Toronto were, I guess, saying to themselves, "I cannot live here anymore. It's too stuffy, too small. I want to move outside the city. I need more space." And so there's a mass exodus
Right.
um, from that market. Condo prices fell. Condo rents fell significantly as well.
Wow.
And interestingly enough, there was a large amount of people that moved into Hamilton because we're the
Oh.
next closest major city.
Oh, okay. Great.
So rental rates at the time when I was checking, I think it was August or September, rental rates went up 4% in Hamilton during the peak of the pandemic, and they dropped significantly in Toronto. Um, I wish I can explain why that was, other than the fact that we're the next closest city on a major highway or transit line. I don't know. Maybe
Hmm.
that's all it was. Maybe it was a bit more than that because there was affordability.
Are seeing
Um,
younger people like in Hamilton, like the activities
yes.
changing? Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Lot of
great.
young, a lot of young creatives. You would fit right in. Hamilton's known
Yeah.
very well for their arts and culture.
Nice.
That's a big industry for them. Um, but yeah, so the rents went up, and the market itself, the detached market, for the past, I don't even know how many months at this point, has been just on a bull run like crazy. The appreciation last
Oh,
year for the housing market, I think across Canada in general, was something stupid like 20% or close to that. And the average that people see year to year is 5%. So we had
wow.
a 400% higher appreciation rate in Canada for a number of reasons. Also because the government printed a ton of money, stimulus
Hmm.
money, right?
Right.
And that's a whole other conversation, can of worms that we don't have to get into
Right.
right now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
printing money increases asset prices, and so I fortunately benefited from the pandemic from a financial standpoint because I'm definitely going to get higher rents from people when I start
Mm,
marketing for rents in the coming
nice.
weeks. And the appraisal value of this home when I'm finished and I get the appraiser to walk through could be significantly higher than what I initially budgeted last February. So from that standpoint, I'm super grateful
That's
the
great.
market went the way it is. But
Hmm.
um, you know what? There's also downsides. Like obviously, um, at least from a landlord perspective,
Hmm.
you can't evict people right now during a pandemic.
Right.
It's illegal. They've stopped that,
Wow.
which I can understand.
Yeah.
But it also places a really large risk on small landlords.
Yeah.
because there are professional tenants out there, which are folks that do try to take advantage of
Know how to
landlords,
milk the system. Yeah.
know to milk the system. And I don't want to create any animosity with renters. Obviously, I think um, there's definitely a really supportive relationship that needs to be built between landlords and tenants. I think that there's positives and negatives on both ends of the
Hmm.
spectrum.
Hmm.
A lot of people will tell you that the tenants have the majority of the control and weight on the lease, and not the lease, the laws that Canada has or Ontario has specifically.
Right.
A lot of people will say no, it's the landlords, they have all the power. I don't really want to get into that discussion. All I want to say is, I understand the challenges that the pandemic has caused.
Hmm.
The government, I don't know if they have the best systems in place to deal with it, but as a small landlord, you just have to be careful who you're finding. Make sure they're reliable tenants, and I should be okay in that sense.
Yeah,
But
for
fine wise.
sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not too familiar with that field. My sister's on res, so she residence, and she has like, she tells me like what it's like to when the pandemic started. People were like lowballing what she needed them to rent out. You know what I mean? Like her place that she has.
Hmm. Hmm.
And now they're still trying to get away with it, but it's like because things are better, and as you said, proven with the market, it's like you're not going to get away with it. You know what I mean? Like before, it was like, you could ask for 200, which is like a steal. But now it's like, just you can't ask for that much. You know what I mean? You can't ask for especially because, again, like how just seeing how the market's moving, but giving an insight towards condos. And um, I had no idea. Like, it makes sense to me. I think a big thing too is, would you say it's a safety reason? Like, people didn't like the idea they were like cornered up like rats in a building. Think about that. Like, what if one
That's a
guy
good
in the
point.
building has the virus? I remember that's something like my dad mentioned, and I was like, wow, that's a pretty good point. Um, who would want to live in a condo when there's like a pandemic, right? Not only you got to worry about yourself, you got to worry about everyone else. So yeah, that's a very interesting take. So is the rent? So why the rents in Toronto still high? No, because people are still joking around about it, and like
I
I still
mean,
see like influencers like talking smack.
honestly, yeah, Daniel, like in general, the Toronto markets, run away from a lot of people in terms of affordability.
Yeah.
Um, the cost of living there is incredibly high. It's just the way the market has gone. I mean, there's limited supply in the market in terms of units, and there's a ton of money printing from the government, and there's so many macroeconomic reasons why the housing market has run away from us that I honestly probably can't explain much very articulately here. But
Right.
um, unfortunately, there's something called the K-shaped recovery,
Hmm.
which we've seen as extremely prominent in the pandemic, which is the richer have gotten richer and the
Yeah.
poor have gotten poorer.
Wow.
Um, and it's unfortunately the way that the world has been going, and for a very long time.
Yeah. The last 100 years.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. For the last hundred years at least. So yeah, definitely people with assets, physical assets, and people in the stock market as well have done really well for themselves. And then people without those things, unfortunately, they didn't do well for themselves. And this just goes to show how little value is in our fiat currency, which is like our Canadian dollar, for example.